sunnah way, and if not, then I'm not gonna get married. Be prudent. With your ilm, also have hilm. Try to reason with them. Try to come to. I mean, I couldn't get rid of everything in my marriage, and I'm an alim. So try to reason with them. Don't try to go all vigilante on them and say no, no, no. Nothing, everything is haram. Because at the end of the day, what that is going to have a lot of bitter feelings, because these things are rooted in our blood system and they need to be flushed out gradually. If you can't do it with your marriage, then maybe with your children's marriage, you'll have a better chance. Okay. So, like furnitures for the bride's family, clothes to guests attending the wedding. In Bengali, we call it biyabari khafor. All of these things. Mehndi, we've spoken about mehndi, limits and boundaries. So we've spoken about that. Wedding, the actual nikah. Okay, there's some terminologies here that you should understand. Okay, which a lot of people get confused. Number one is wedding, or what we call in our language biya, and number two is walima. In our Bengali tradition, I don't know about the Pakistani tradition, wedding is the day where the groom goes to the bride's place to get the bride to his house. And because the whole barat is going, the bride's father gives them a dawat, and that's called the wedding dawat. Okay, and the walima in the Bangladeshi tradition is where 2-3 days or 1 week later, when the bride's family, extended family, they come to visit where they have given their daughter away, and so because they are your guests, you have a walima kind of party. So it's basically guest feeding two guests. Yeah. Nowadays, what's happening is that because of the credit crunch and everything, people are trying to improvise, and some people are meeting in the middle, especially if the marriage is local, they're basically doing wedding and walima in the same day. Okay, is that clear? There's no confusion here. The reason why I had to mention this is because the term walima comes across in the hadith books, and when the term walima actually comes across in the hadith book, it doesn't mean the walima that we understand it to be. That it's the celebration after the wedding, when the bride's father comes to the groom's place and they have that walima, we call it. It's not that. What in the hadith is meant by the walima is actually the wedding feast. Okay? So when you read a hadith, don't try to get confused. We're looking at it from two different cultures. Don't mix the culture. Don't mix the culture. The Arab culture is that they only had one walima. Okay, some of their walimas were different. Some of the walimas, wedding feast, was the Prophet ﷺ said, okay, especially in a safar when he was getting married to one of the Ummatul Mu'minin, he basically said, okay, I'm going to get married to Maymuna, and the wedding is that get whatever food you've got in your packages, and we'll all sit together and we'll have a wedding feast. So their whole context was completely different. Okay, so don't confuse them, or else you won't be able to understand the hadith properly. You'll see, Prophet ﷺ always talks about walima. What about the wedding day? So the wedding day is a bid'ah. He'll say, Prophet ﷺ never mentioned the wedding day feast, so that must be a bid'ah. It's the walima. The walima is the wedding day feast. You have to just understand that. That's number one. Number two is as far as food and entertainment is concerned, I will tell you very, very simply that it has to be within the bounds of the Sharia, and it can't violate the Sharia. And nowadays we have fantastic weddings where there is basically segregation, and you can have an almost Islamic marriage. Okay, so I mean, obviously going in and out, there is going to be some mixing, but if that is avoidable, then it's better. But so that's the limits. As far as food is concerned, I would like to mention that remember that in Islam, nothing excessive is jaiz. Anything excessive, even excessive prayer to the extent that you getting rid of everything else, is not jaiz. Okay. Similarly, if you have excessive food, okay, and you spend so much, that's haram as well. The Prophet ﷺ says that sharru tu'am tu'amul walima, that the worst food is the food of the wedding feast, because of the way that it's prepared, and also because the way that people are invited. What you should do, you go and give your invitation one by one, but also you have an open invitation in the mosque and say, I'm getting married, or my son's getting married, I'm inviting everybody. Because what people The reason why the Prophet ﷺ said the worst food is the food of the walima is because if you give personal invitation, then the poor people or the people who are not very privileged, they get exempted. They get excluded. So what you should do is you should give. Obviously you should have some kind of numbers because of logistical reasons, but it should be more kind of open. That's number one. About the food, the quantity of the food. Some people, and it's become this kind of mindset that we have. Some people, they think that we can just have a wedding feast with about 10-15 people in our house or in the masjid, and that's it, and just go. Well, that's also wrong, because the Prophet ﷺ says, "Awlim walaw bishart," that do walima, do the wedding feast, even though a minimum it is a shart, which is a goat. That's the minimum. Okay, don't go below that. Obviously, when the Prophet ﷺ was in Safar, when the Prophet ﷺ was traveling and he wanted to get married to Sayyidah Maymuna, then that was a different case. So he said, okay, bring all your food together and we'll have a feast. But when the Prophet ﷺ was there, he said, "Awlim walaw bishar." Some people, they say, yeah, do the walima, even though if you were to spend, the most that you're supposed to spend is a goat. That's a wrong reading of the hadith. That's a wrong reading. This hadith is not for takfir. It's not for saying the maximum amount that you can spend. It's the minimum amount that you should spend. And logically, it's also true, because people are going to come to your place, your part of the land, and you want to say that people have eaten. You don't want people to go around and people say "Hanuysies, data Hanuysies." You don't want people to go around. You don't need all the entertainment. But guests are coming from outside. You should give them. You should show them that you know how to kind of host people. Okay, not be so extortionate, but at least people shouldn't complain about the food. And as far as this hadith is concerned, awlim walaw bishar, that do walima, have the wedding feast, even though it's some people, they said that, well, here the Prophet ﷺ said maximum is a goat. Well, I've already explained that maximum is not a goat, minimum. But even if you kind of read into the same hadith and you look at the Sahih Muslim and you follow the hadiths through, not only a particular hadith, but you follow the whole chapter through, you'll see that when the Prophet ﷺ actually did the walima with this goat, he basically said to Sayyidina Anas that, Anas, go and find people in Medina and bring them to this food. Okay, bring them. And they went. And it was only a small goat. They went. He went and he started getting people. And then Sayyidina Anas said, the Prophet said, go and find some more people. Went and found some more people. Go and find some more people. So he went and found some more people. And Sayyidina Anas says in the hadith of Sahih Muslim that afterwards I counted about 300 people ate from this one goat. Okay, now that was a miracle of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, but the issue here, the mawdi'ul ihtijaj, is not that it was a miracle of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but the fact that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam fed 300 people. That's the sunnah for us. And if we were able to feed 300 people, either you need a miracle or you need to provide food for 300 people. So from this hadith, we understand that there's nothing wrong with feeding people. You don't need to just have 15 people in your house, or just feed people. They've come to your turf, right? Give them food. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't give to the fuqara or the less privileged. Feed people, okay? But it shouldn't be so extortionate. 300 people nowadays, people feed them. There's nothing wrong with that. Another thing is that some of the ulama, they say that the nikah has to be in the masjid. Okay, with all due respect, the nikah should be in the masjid, because I'm talking practicalities here. Okay, I'm not talking ideals. I'm talking practicality. With all due respect, the nikah should be in the masjid. It's the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But sometimes for logistical reasons, you just can't have it in the masjid. Maybe the masjid where you've gone, the hall is far away, or maybe the driver won't take you. There's so many logistics, or so many people can't make it to the mosque. So you do it in the hall. There's no big deal. The hadith of Sayyidina Abdurrahman ibn Auf radiallahu ta'ala, he came back. Sayyidina Abdurrahman ibn Auf radiallahu came back, and the Prophet sallallahu saw some saffron on his clothes. It was yellow color. And the Prophet sallallahu said, well, did you get married, Abdurrahman? He said, yes, Ya Rasulullah, I did get married. I said, okay, so cool. That's fine. But the fact is that The Prophet ﷺ did not know.